So when we're looking at warm-ups, it should be a really simple process, but people either they'll walk into the gym and not know what to do, or they'll probably do way too much than what they already need. So these are the things that we cover. So when I'm taking a warm-up with my guys, they'll have this in their workouts. They might not know these off by heart, but they'll definitely cover these. I'm not too bothered if my guys like memorize what these are, as long as they follow the same patterns and you get used to following that pattern. So what we look at is relax, open, anchor, rehearse, and explode. So when we're looking at relax, that's basically anything that feels tight from the week. It could be feeling a little bit of lower back pain. It could be tight calves. It could be whatever that may be. And they're going to do a little bit of, say, foam rolling. It could be a lacrosse ball. It could be a boomstick. It could be anything from 30 seconds to a couple of minutes. We're not spending a shed ton of time on this, simply because you don't really need it, in my opinion. You only need a little bit, and sometimes you don't need any at all. Next thing we're going to look at there is open. So we're going to open restricted movement patterns. So anything where so the example that I give there is, can you get to the bottom of a squat? So if your body weight squat looks a little bit off, or you're finding it hard to get there, or something's a little bit painful, or you just look like you're going to fold over like a wet paper, that's what we're going to looking at. We're looking at ankles, we're looking at hips, we're looking at anything that might be restricting movement there. Once we've done that, we're going to anchor yourself. So anchor yourself into the floor, into the bench, by giving yourself a solid foundation. So this could be your foot position, it could be bracing, it could be anything that gives you a solid position. So if we're looking at a bench, it's how to keep your chest up while you're in that movement, keeping your shoulders back, keeping your scaps pinned into the bench. If we're looking at a deadlift, it's looking at your foot position, keeping your toes pinned to the floor, looking at a flat foot surface. If it's a squat, exactly the same thing. Every exercise we're going to be doing is looking at if we can brace properly, if there's anything that's kind of restricting our breathing patterns, whether anxiety is a little bit high, or again, just something that's quite restricted in our movement and our posture that might be restricting our breathing and our ability to brace properly. The next thing we're going to do there is, once we've done that, is rehearsing the movement of your first lift, your first exercise, or whatever the focus for that session is. So that could be anything that's sub-maximal. So it could be a goblet squat if you're doing a squat session. It could be using a kettlebell for a deadlift. It could be push-ups. You're just going to rehearse that movement. You need to do work sub-maximal rather than just jumping into your heaviest weight. In my experience and in my opinion, simply because when you start doing things at lighter weight, you start to notice things a lot easier. If you jump straight into the bar and you're only right at 90% straight away, you've probably not warmed up enough. And also as well, if something feels a little off, it's really hard to feel if something doesn't feel right when you're quite close to your max. All you're worried about is just shifting that bar. I don't think it does any harm than doing some lightweight, moving up to that. And kind of what you'll probably find is that if you're taking smaller increments up to your highest weight, you probably find that you lift more in the day anyway. It's not a case of getting more fatigued. It's more a case of just finding out if anything feels a little bit off, because every day is different. You don't walk into the gym every single day at a certain level. We're not video games. We're not just always at that full power every single day on demand. And then lastly, going on to explode. So something that's going to excite you, something that's going to fire up the CNS. So I like to do something really simple, making sure that the reps are quite short as well. So doing something that fires you up. So it could be a box jump, could be med ball throws, could be sprints, could be absolutely anything that fires up that CNS. It could be something it could be a quick game of TIG. Absolutely anything that gets you fired up, gets you ready for the workout ahead. You should be ending your warm-up fired and pumped and ready to go. If you're not, then there's a couple of things that you could be checking. Is it a day where you need to back off a little bit? Maybe look at other things like, if sleep's not been great, if you're slightly dehydrated, not been drinking a lot of water, if you've been out the night before, anything like that. If you're getting to the end of your warm-up and you don't quite feel up for it and you still feel a little bit sluggish, have a look at what you've been doing the few days before it or the few weeks before it, what the rest of your program's been like. Are you getting towards like a deload? Which isn't always the case. People kind of rush into a deload quite early, in my opinion, but you can kind of stretch that out. But yeah, basically, these are the main things that I cover in my warm-ups. If you've got any questions about specific warm-ups, something that you think that you might be doing, or something that doesn't feel quite work for you, just drop me a message and I'm more than happy to share on things like this and actually give maybe a post answers or some things like that. All right, I'm off. See you later, guys.